person as to why he was doing it, and then this led you into the career that you eventually decided upon.
That's the way I see it.
The lipstick murders just caught my imagination, and that never went away. I wanted to understand people like William Hearns.
Hearns broke into the apartments of young women. When he was caught, he would kill, almost like an afterthought. Killing was not the satisfaction. It was a necessary evil.
The fact is, he had this real obsessive-compulsive drive to do these burglaries, and it became so strong that he could no longer fight those urges.
The question was, do these killers suffer from an irresistible compulsion, or is it a compulsion that they choose not to resist?
The young boy Ressler was hooked.
I made up my mind. I wanted to become a real, live detective.
Remember that guy that used to deliver groceries to my house?
Mm-hmm.
The man who delivered groceries to the Ressler home was none other than one of the most horrific serial killers of our time. John Wayne Gacy, the killer in the clown mask.
Clowns get away with murder.
1978. John Wayne Gacy was a respected citizen of Chicago. On weekends, he often entertained children in a homemade clown costume. Nobody knew what the mask was really hiding.
Gacy and I grew up in the same neighborhood. We were in the Boy Scouts together. I sometimes wonder how we ended up on the opposite sides of the law. What made me a cop? What made him a serial killer?
Joe Kosenczak was the man who hunted down John Wayne Gacy. Following weeks of surveillance, the chief of detectives ordered Gacy's house searched. After a young man disappeared who had spoken with Gacy about a job at his construction company, Kosenczak obtained a warrant to search Gacy's house.
The crawl space was actually found by a detective who spotted a cut in the tile. And he called me over, and we got a screwdriver, and we pried up on the trap door. We didn't know it was a trap door at the time, but the whole bottom floor of this closet lifted up, and then we saw that this was an entry area into a crawl space. And when we opened the trap door, an evidence technician dropped down into the crawl space area, and within 5 minutes called up and said that we have 3 bodies down here. And it just sent a chill up all of our backs to think that there were X unknown amounts of bodies. It's pretty overwhelming.
I heard the news on the radio. This was a huge case. There's a guy that had planned to kill 33 men and premeditated. Exactly what I was looking for to test my theories of organized serial killer.
Ressler flew to Chicago and offered to assist Joe Kosenczak in his investigation.
I came in on the investigation after the body started to be found. I went to the FBI locally and said, what can I do to help? I come from the FBI Behavioral Science Unit where we have some insights into this material.
One thing that I urged him to look for were personal items of people who had been reported missing in the area.
The police found an ID card in Gacy's file drawer. It belonged to a young man who had been missing for several months.
And it just adds to a lot of things you told us about the minds of these people.
Yeah, that's one thing we found out about them. They keep items of personal nature from the victims.
The serial killer keeps the class rings, gold chains, the belt buckles, the ID cards, and all that to him is trophies or souvenirs that remind him of his successes that he's satisfied with. So it can relate right to normal behavior, but on a very bizarre level.
What was really interesting is the fact that the evidence, most of the evidence we found, was set up on Gacy's dresser in his bedroom, which, from my perspective, almost resembled an altar.
Body after body was retrieved from John Wayne Gacy's house. Most of the corpses were already decomposed. For the officers, it was a gruesome task.
What had he done to these boys? It was like being in the middle of the worst nightmare.
The violence involved in this crime was just horrendous. A lot of police officers wound up being depressed over this thing because they never saw people tortured and killed in this manner.
Later, when I was having Christmas dinner with my family, it started hitting me that 33 kids will never have another Christmas. I was there with my family. What I had seen, it was just a devastating thing.
Gacy's house was completely dismantled. Today, a new building stands on this lot. John Wayne Gacy, on his way to justice. He became instantly America's most notorious serial killer. During his trial, Gacy maintained that an alter ego had committed the crimes.
This may have been a lie, but it squared with my belief that even an organized serial killer may become dissociated from their crimes.
In his cell, Gacy waited for the verdict, but there was no surprise. Only the death sentence. After Gacy's arrest, Ressler convinced his superiors at the FBI that extensive interviews with serial killers like Gacy would benefit the profiling program.
I explained that a man like Gacy can tell us so much about why they kill. It was an opportunity we could not pass up. I'm glad they agreed.
So Robert Ressler conducted the first landmark interview with John Wayne Gacy. He laid out the first detailed map of the mind of a serial killer.
The Gacy interview reinforced my beliefs about serial killers. The interview confirmed that a man who is seemingly in control of himself can also function in our society and still be a lethal predator. An organized killer is the most dangerous one.
And the rope trick?
It's an tourniquet, so it cut off the air. So if you're going to kill somebody, you just put it on their neck and twist it 3 times or 4 times or whatever until the person stopped moving.
Then finally came the day of reckoning for John Wayne Gacy. He had asked that Robert Ressler be present at his execution, but the FBI agent refused. During the night of the execution, Ressler woke up just after midnight, precisely the time when John Wayne Gacy died. Ressler was sweating and had trouble breathing. He was looking at a painting, a gift Gacy had given him after their meeting, a self-portrait of the killer as a clown. Back in Alexandria, Virginia, the killer strangled his next victim with his bare hands. The next step. In order to begin developing a profile of the Alexandria killer, Ressler seeks inspiration from the horrors of his old case files.
You have to see the dirty, ugly, dangerous place where the mind lives. You have to spend a lot of time there. Sometimes it gets hard to close the door when I leave.
First, Ressler assembles clues that suggest a common pattern.
The women are all approximately the same age, they're approximately the same appearance. The circumstances of their disappearance is all similar. Where they were found, similar once again. So there were similarities that we can work with from the standpoint of developing a profile. Stabbing, drowning, strangulation. This guy hadn't found his passion yet. The killer in this case would most likely be a youthful male. I wouldn't be looking at a skilled older male who'd been in and out of prison a number of times, but I would say somebody between late teens, early to mid-20s. Looking at an individual who would be coming from a disrupted childhood. Looking for an individual who'd be coming from a dysfunctional home life. Absent father would almost be a given. He uses his victims as objects for his own sexual gratification. He's killed 5 times and is going to kill again. He's not going to stop unless he is stopped.